thought of trading Brad Marchand for Chris Kreider is straight up crazy talk.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked Beat. Today is Friday? Yes, December 27th. It's always hard to keep track of the days around the holidays, but that is indeed what we are at today, Friday, December 27th. And I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. There was no show on Christmas Day or Boxing Day. I hope you all had a fantastic time celebrating the holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever holiday you are celebrating around this time of year. I hope it was joyful, peaceful. Now we're back to Boston Bruins hockey after the mandated 3-day break for the NHL. The Bruins will begin a home-and-home series against the Columbus Blue Jackets beginning tonight in Ohio. We'll preview that game later on in the podcast, as well as discuss some Brad Marchand for Chris Kreider trade speculation, and take a look at Bruins prospects at the World Juniors. Spoiler alert, there's not much to talk about there. Before we get into all that, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes at Ian C. McLaren. I'm a lifelong Boston Bruins fan. Been following this team or covering this team for various outlets for 20 years now. Was a full-time hockey news editor at The Score, and I've been hosting this podcast for 5 years, since 2019, I meant to say. I hope your Boxing Day was better than Derek Lalonde, head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, who was deposed in favor of Todd McLellan, as Steve Yzerman saying the Red Wings were meant to at least challenge for a wild card spot this year. That's not the case. The Bruins currently in that mix. The New York Rangers are outside of the playoffs after having won the President's Trophy last year. And it was brought to my attention recently that there was a article on ESPN, Trade Tiers Big Board, and a follow-up by Rachel Dory, who's been on the podcast before. 6 logical trades that NHL teams should make in January. And one of the top ones was Chris Kreider to the Boston Bruins. Rachel wrote, the Bruins are thin up front, particularly on the left. Their power play is anemic, ranking 31st at 12.9%. The Bruins are struggling to produce offense in a significant way. Kreider has been a staple on the Rangers' power play, leading the franchise in man advantage goals. No one is the leader in power play goals for an original 6 franchise by accident, and Kreider is a particularly effective net front presence. And he would be obviously a fantastic guy to put on the line with Pavel Zacha and David Pastrnak. Kreider was a healthy scratch prior to the holiday break. Under contract for 2 more seasons at $6.5 million. 15-team no trade list, but I would expect the Bruins would not be on that. But then Rachel mentioned, as mentioned in the big board, one executive tossed around the idea of Brad Marchand for Chris Kreider. She added, well, it seems unlikely given Marchand's standing in the Bruins organization as team captain. Kreider's younger, faster. The Rangers might like Marchand's pending UFA status as they look to reconstruct their roster. She said it would be a jaw dropper, to say the least. So I looked back at the big board, and indeed, Greg Wyshynski of ESPN said an NHL executive texted him recently to ask Chris Kreider for Brad Marchand, who says no. Wish said once you hear it, you can't stop checking boxes for why it would make sense. But it's hard to conceive. Now listen, I'm not adverse to Brad Marchand trade talk. I was infamously called out by the captain himself for suggesting a few years ago that if Patrice Bergeron retired, it might be time to look at trading Marchand in order to start looking to the future. But right now, he is red hot for one. He's the captain. He still has a very nice deal for this season. He's a beloved member of the organization, a leader on and off the ice. The Bruins, of course, have run out captains in the past. Just look at Zdeno Chara, who did not end his career with the Bruins. But at the same time, I can't see them making that move. If they're wanting to add Kreider, it's to give Marchand a chance to win a Stanley Cup before he hangs up his skates, whenever that might be. And he is an impending unrestricted free agent. And there's some real questions about whether the Bruins should give him a contract that's a bit above his station at the moment because of the team-friendly nature of his current deal. But he's still playing at a very high level. 15 goals, 15 assists in 36 games. He's on pace for 34 goals, 34 assists. He's yet to miss a game this season, which speaks to his durability and longevity, although he did, of course, have off-season surgery to fix a number of issues. 13 points so far in December, and he has only gone one game this month without a point, and that was back in a 6-3 win over the Montreal Canadiens on December 1st. In every game since, he has recorded at least a point, and he's coming off a 3-point performance against the Washington Capitals on Monday. Chris Kreider, on the other hand, has not played well this season at all. He has scored at a decent clip, I should say, but again, he was scratched in their previous game before the break. He is sitting on 11 goals, but only 1 assist for 12 total points. He's on pace for 27 goals, 2 assists, 29 points, less than half of what Brad Marchand is on pace for. I don't see the benefit of making that move right now. It's not as if he's that much younger. He's going to be 34 in April, or the end of April. It's a lateral move at best, and not even at the moment, because quite frankly, Brad Marchand is outplaying Chris Kreider at the moment. So pour a bunch of cold water on that speculation. Now, if the Bruins are interested in Chris Kreider, which they very well should be, considering he plays on the left side, yes, you'd want him to jump on the line with Pastrnak and Zacha. Maybe they dangle Charlie Coyle or a Trent Frederick or Morgan Geekie. Coyle, of course, has some protection, but Geekie, Frederick don't. Maybe the Rangers see those guys as potential answers moving forward. That would be a big upgrade, of course, but who knows if the Rangers are going to want to make that move. We'll see here. Kreider's value certainly is very low. So we'll see what happens here as the trade freeze comes to an end, but no movement, of course, here yet on Friday morning. The Bruins are back in action tonight, and they will be starting a home-and-home series against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and we'll preview tonight's game here as the podcast continues. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, and if you love sports, you're going to love PrizePicks. It's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the action, and you can now win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. And this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas, offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, PrizePicks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's PrizePicks. Download the app, use code LOCKEDONNHL, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. At PrizePicks, you can run your game all season long. Bruins, Blue Jackets in Columbus tonight, the first of 2 games in 2 nights between these 2 teams. I personally love the idea of a home and home series. It just adds to the monotony, perhaps, of the regular season. Sometimes these games aren't super exciting, but when you have opponents playing each other on consecutive nights, there really is that animosity that can bubble up and spill over into the next game. So keep an eye out for that. The Columbus Blue Jackets currently outside the playoff picture with a record of 14, 15, and 6. The Blue Jackets did, of course, beat the Bruins back on November 18th, a score of 5-1. And that was pretty much what broke the camel's back in terms of Jim Montgomery being let go by the Bruins and Joe Sacco taking over. It was that game that was the final straw for Don Sweeney, Cam Neely, ownership, as they decided it was time to make a move. The Bruins were, pretty badly embarrassed in that game, losing 5-1 to a team that, let's be honest, is okay. They've got some pretty good pieces, but the fact that they dropped that one, it just led to this change for the Bruins. Now this weekend will be the end of the season series between these 2 teams. The Bruins, of course, need a couple wins to take that series. Now, the Blue Jackets, again, they're outside of the playoff picture at the moment. These are 4 points that the Bruins could really use here to establish themselves even further as a legitimate Eastern Conference playoff team and to effectively bury the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets right now are 10th in the conference, 4 points back of the Senators with 1 more game played. So the Bruins can really do some damage here. Or with a couple losses, they could give them some life. We don't want that to happen. The Blue Jackets are 3-4-3 over their past 10. They've lost 5 of their past 7. They are coming off a win over Montreal, and they beat Winnipeg recently, as well as New Jersey. Those are 2 pretty good teams, but the wins are few and far between for Columbus. 14, 15, and 6. That's really 14 wins and 21 losses. The Bruins are 19, 13, and 4. So 19 wins, 17 losses with the loser point there. Goaltending, I believe Elvis Merzlikins is injured, so it will likely be Tarasov in net for the Blue Jackets. He's got a record of 3-5-1 with an .857 save percentage. We'll see if, Joonas Korpisalo will get a start here against Columbus with the back-to-back. We'll see who's in net tonight, either Swayman or Korpisalo. The other option for Columbus, I believe, is Jet Greaves. And let me just search him up here on social media to see what the status is for the Blue Jackets in net. I believe Merzlikins is indeed injured and may not be able to get in. Oh, no, he is playing tonight. Elvis Merzlikins. Jess Svoboda, Jackets insider, saying Damon Severson is back into the lineup after being a healthy scratch. And it looks like they're going to go 11-7 tonight with Merzlikins getting the start against the Bruins. So it'll be Merzlikins tonight He's got an 889 save percentage, 10-9-3 record. So there you go. They are led in scoring by Kirill Marchenko, 37 points in 35 games. Sean Monahan with 31 points in 35 games. Zach Werenski, 35 points in 35 games as well. So they do have a lot of offensive talent. Add in Cole Sillinger, Kent Johnson, Dmitry Voronkov, Adam Fantilli, Igor Chinikov. Like, these guys have talent. James Van Riemsdyk, we know, scored against the Bruins back then. This is a team that can score, and obviously they've already beaten the Bruins 5-1 so far this season. So not a team to sleep on by any stretch. But the Bruins, again, need to take 3, maybe 4 of these points to really make a statement here. Bruins, power play, still 31st in the NHL. Their penalty kill is 23rd. Blue Jackets have a bit of a better power play. They rank 19th, 19.1% success rate. Their penalty kill is worse than Boston's. It's 27th. And the Bruins can really take advantage in the faceoff circle here. They have the 5th ranked faceoff percentage. This was an area of weakness for the team last year. It's been much improved with the addition of Lindholm, who's really coming into form lately for the Boston Bruins. The Blue Jackets, 48% success rate, 27th in the NHL. Boston's offense is 26th ranked, 2.64 goals per game. The Blue Jackets can score again. They are 9th ranked offense, 3.31 goals per game. Their defense, though, not great, 3.63 goals allowed per game, which is 30th in the NHL. The Bruins, 3.03, which is 16th. Should be a couple of good games here. Again, one of the big stories for the Bruins prior to the break was the status of David Pastrnak, who there does not seem to be an update on heading into this game, which is unfortunate. I'll update it on the YouTube channel if indeed he does miss time. There was the video the other day of Hampus Lindholm playing Santa for Pasternak's daughter Freya. So he's not, incognito at the moment. But even if he can go, obviously it was significant enough that he had to leave the game on Monday. So clearly not 100%. Whatever happens in these couple games. And if he can't play, obviously that is a big concern for the Boston Bruins and their chances of beating any team. Let's be honest. Without David Pastrnak, it makes it that much more difficult. So if he does miss tonight's game, I'll be sure to drop a YouTube short to keep you updated. So please do follow along on Locked On Boston Bruins on YouTube for all the latest on the black and gold. So a couple big games, a couple winnable games coming up before the Bruins take on the Washington Capitals on New Year's Eve, afternoon game there. And we will recap this weekend's action and preview that one coming up next week, of course. All right. As the podcast continues today, we are going to take a look at Bruins prospect situation at the World Junior Championship, which is taking place right now in Ottawa. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you were paying for subscriptions that you didn't even know you still had? That's definitely happened for me. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon and get rid of all those unwanted subscriptions. It's World Junior time of year again, and I'm honoring that tournament by wearing this beautiful new Guelph Storm toque that I got for Christmas. Shout out Matt Poitras. Hopefully he's back in the NHL sometime soon. He's been on fire for Providence lately. And hey, if David Pastrnak is injured, then they may need some reinforcements recalled. Now, I looked up dailyfaceoff.com. They had a list of all the players who are, or all the teams who are represented at the World Juniors this year. And you look at the list of all the NHL teams represented at the World Juniors. And lo and behold, 0 Boston Bruins prospects at the World Juniors this year. I believe they're the only team without a prospect represented at this tournament this year, which speaks to their pipeline. You look at Seattle, they have like 10 players. The St. Louis Blues have a bunch of players. Every team has at least one prospect except for the Boston Bruins. Dean Letourneau, who was their first round pick this past year, not there. And it kind of speaks to Boston's prospect pipeline or lack thereof. And that's one thing that we look at when we discuss how they've performed so far this season, the need to look to the future. They've gone all in a couple times here. They've given up a bunch of prospects, picks, and just don't have those high-level players in the pipeline that you are looking for. Now, of course, they have hit with Mason Lohrei, Matt Poitras, who I just mentioned. But at the same time, yeah, there's not really a ton to get excited about moving forward for this team. And if you're looking for Bruins to watch at this tournament, there just aren't any. Straight up. They're the only team without a prospect at this tournament. Now, of course, it's still fun to watch Team Canada, Team USA. There'll be a big game on New Year's Eve. But when it comes to looking ahead, look at the Red Wings, who I mentioned earlier. Axel Sandin Pellikka with a hat trick in the game yesterday. I've got him in a keeper league, so I'm pretty excited about that. Otherwise, yeah. If you're a Bruins fan, it's kind of, cool that all these other teams have these toys, but we don't have nothing to look forward to. So, sorry to end the podcast on a bit of a downer, but hey, we focus on who the Bruins are right now, and they're playing the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight. I'm very excited about these couple of games and hoping for a couple big wins as the Bruins look to avenge that earlier 5-1 loss that led to Jim Montgomery being fired and pick up important 4 points here as the playoff picture is going to start to come more into focus here. The Bruins right now are 7th in the East in terms of point percentage. The Ottawa Senators are 4 points back with 2 games in hand. The Pittsburgh Penguins have had a bit of a resurgence here. Who knows if the Rangers, who are currently behind Columbus and Philadelphia, could rebound. But it looks to be maybe a 9 or 10 team race here for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. There's only 7 teams right now with positive goal differentials. The Bruins they were one of the worst in the East. They're now a bit better, still behind Columbus and the Rangers as the teams near the playoff picture with negative goal differentials. And hopefully a couple big wins over Columbus can put them even closer to an even 0. All right, that's it for today's episode, my friends. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out today's podcast. And please do subscribe if you have not already. Please do Check out the Locked On Fantasy podcast next for all the latest from Steal and Flip to give you an edge in your league. Please have a great weekend. If anything major happens, I'll be sure to jump on the YouTube account, record a short, or if it's worth mentioning, maybe jump on and do a whole podcast over the weekend. Please do take care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you again here on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.